This loss is obviously bad. And as we begin to turn the page to next week, Monday, between the Packers and the Eagles at Lambeau Field, where they play not only a contender, but the reigning Super Bowl champions, it's got me thinking about, like, okay, what do we know? What don't we know? We're halfway through the year. How good can they be? How good are they? Are they actually not that good? Are they even a playoff team? Et cetera, et cetera. I've thought about all these scenarios in the last 48 hours. I thought this was interesting, though, from Dan Graziano, who joins Unsportsmanlike every Wednesday. He talked about the Packers and called them a good team and then went on to explain how they're not a very good team, but also kind of a good team. And I just thought it was a good summary of how I'm feeling to a point, because I also disagree with something he says. Here's Dan Graziano on Unsportsmanlike, ESPN Radio.
I do think they're a good team. I think they play like a young team, a young, talented team, which is what they are. And they can beat anybody on any given week because they have that kind of talent, but they can also make enough mistakes to lose to anybody on any given week. So do you get that ironed out by the time the playoffs start? I think the Packers will be fine. I don't think the Packers have to win their division to be a threat in the playoffs, but interesting to see how they look going forward. The negative that I took out of Sunday was the Tucker Kraft injury.
So obviously we all agree with the Tucker Kraft part. Big time negative from that loss against Carolina. But the thing that bothers me, and I'm going to sound like a broken record if you've listened to this show for a long time, but they looked like a young team because they are a young team who can beat anybody but also lose to anybody. Okay? I agree with that. That's what we've learned about them this year. They can beat anybody but also lose to anybody. Beat anybody, see Pittsburgh the way they did it. See Detroit week 1. Lose to anybody, see Cleveland, and see Carolina. So while I agree with that portion of it, I've also banned an excuse on this show. The youngest team in football. They're a young team. The youngest team in football. That's why they can lose to anybody. The thing that actually upsets me about this today, on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, is that on November 5th, 2024, we weren't looking at their wins and losses and going, well, they can lose to anybody. No, we were looking at their wins and losses and saying, well, they lose to really good teams. They lose to teams that are winning 12 and 13 games and winning Super Bowls. They had 7 losses in total last year. 2 of them were to Philadelphia, who won the Super Bowl. 2 of them were to Detroit, who won the division. 2 of them were to Minnesota, who won 13 games. And obviously the Week 18 loss to a team that didn't make the playoffs, and Malik Willis played in that game, and Will roots for them. And, you know, we don't really look at that one as a true, real loss. The losses that mattered last season were to Philadelphia, Detroit, and Minnesota. Those were really good teams last year. Really good teams. They didn't lose to bad teams last year. And they were younger last year. And they were more inexperienced last year. They didn't lose to bad teams. They didn't lose games they shouldn't lose. And that's what they've done now twice this year. And really, they haven't won 3 games they should win this year, counting the tie against Dallas. So this whole, they were a young team, they're the youngest team in the league, a BS excuse that we continue to utilize when it comes to talking about the Packers, not only annoys me, it's also just wrong at this point. Because this was not a bugaboo for them a year ago. And that's the thing that I'm struggling to connect. I talked earlier in the week on KBN. And Joshy will probably make fun of me that I'll say this again. But, like, I love puzzles. I'm a puzzle guy. I play all the New York Times crosswords and, you know.
Those are games.
Wordles and, well, they're puzzles, too, though. The Pips, the Dominoes game, that's a puzzle.
It's a puzzle
I play
game.
the puzzles on LinkedIn. I love puzzle games.
When was the last time you sat down and did a puzzle?
Like an actual puzzle?
Yeah.
It's probably been a year. Probably around Christmas last year.
Also, you're just
Usually
rolling through
Christmas.
LinkedIn, playing puzzle games.
Yeah, Sudoku and such. Yeah.
I've done the LinkedIn puzzle game.
I play Zip every day. I love getting to solutions, right?
Seems like you just like wasting time.
Yep.
No, that's how I start my day. That's how I get the brain firing with my cup of mud and some puzzles.
Yeah,
that's the excuse he's built.
Yeah.
Matthew chimes in. I'm with you, Strofe. The LinkedIn puzzles are fun. I did mine this morning. See, people do this, Josh. I'm not the only person that does this.
You guys need hobbies.
I do have a hobby. It's puzzles.
No.
I take pride in, like, one of my good skills is I like solving problems. I'm a problem solver. My point is here. And
we're just filling out your resume now?
Well, no, the issue I'm having with the Packers.
Who are you telling this to?
I'm trying to give you an analogy.
He loves this analogy so much, and you guys just keep interrupting him.
All right, let's start from the top.
No!
Please don't.
Please, Uncle, I tap out. No more.
So I take pride in being a problem solver. I really like puzzles. So the point is here, what I'm trying to say is I like things with solutions and like knowing the answers to things. The thing with the Packers team is they are an unsolvable puzzle. They're like a jigsaw with missing pieces. You can't finish it. And obviously we're only midway through the season, so we don't have the final answer of what they will be and what they can be. But right now, as it stands through 8 games, 5-2-1, with 2 bad losses and a couple good wins, is I don't know what to make of them. I don't know if they're contenders. I don't know if they're pretenders. I don't know if they're in the race for the NFC North. I don't know if they missed the playoffs. They've got some interesting games left on their schedule. They've got to go to Detroit. They've got to host what will likely be a desperate Baltimore team at the end of the season at Lambeau Field. They've got to play one of the best defenses in the league in Denver on the road in December. They've got to play Minnesota twice. They've got to play Chicago twice. Like, there's a realistic path to them losing 5 more games and missing the playoffs. There's also a realistic path to them losing only 2 more games and finishing the season 12-4-1 and maybe being the top seed in the NFC. It's probably what makes this so addicting and watching football and sports so fun, because you don't know the answer to the journey. But I feel like at this time last year, we had a pretty good answer of what the Packers exactly were. They would hang in there with good teams and they would beat bad teams, just who they were. That's just not the case this year. And they're older and more experienced, so stop calling them the youngest team in football and using youth as an excuse as to why they have bad losses, because that's not something they did a year ago. Analogy over. Go ahead.
I do like that you're treating the Green Bay Packers in 2025 as some like unsolvable math problem. Like it's one of the famous formulas that like all the famous mathematicians have never been able. There's answers here. It's just which of the answers do you want to accept and treat as
So what are the
likely?
answers?
1, not that talented.
I don't think that's the answer.
2, regression from the head coach.
I think that could be an answer.
3 could be bad luck.
I mean, there's probably some truth to that with injuries.
Yes. And I don't know what else the other I mean, it's football. Things are pretty straightforward. The answer is one of 2 things most likely in terms of solving it. 1, this is just a streak of bad fortune and poor play that is going to be corrected. It is going to be solved and not be an issue, and we all just are overreacting to 3 anomalies early in a season for, and not an excuse, an explanation for a young team. They're still young players. They're still learning on the football field. They are still getting better and learning how to play in those situations. Or the other fact is they have a head coach that has seemingly somehow taken a step back, has gotten too stuck in his ways, is too fixated on the wrong things, and isn't going to manage to solve them and help lift his team above the performances we've seen.
I do believe
those are the 2 roads.
I do believe the head coach certainly plays a role.
Yeah.
The reason you can't solve the puzzle is because the picture on the box is not the same as the pieces that are inside. You thought Matt LaFleur was going to be this amazing head coach coming into this year. He's got all these new weapons. Now Tucker Kraft's going to take the next step. He's got Matthew Golden. He's got this superpower defense. And then everything kind of starts to fall apart. His coaching style maybe isn't as good as you thought it was. The defense maybe isn't as good as you thought it was. Tucker Kraft obviously gets hurt. But at the end of the day, I don't think this team is what you thought they were. They're not the puzzle that's on the box. They're the puzzle on the inside, which is an entirely different puzzle. And that's why you're having trouble solving it, is because you don't have the picture right.
That was pretty good. Pretty good analogy by Will.
Yeah. should leave the analogies to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how that
You
works.
got an analogy picked.
If Boss Man agrees with that,
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, you helped further my analogy.
it was a good analogy. I played off of it.
See, now it's just teamwork. Teamwork
It's like
makes the dream
Rondo to
work.
Paul Pierce in the corner.
Okay. What?
Except you're more like Avery Bradley. You're not Rondo.
Sixth man of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that that's the diss you thought it was.
Good defender.
Hey, he's a good player. Avery Bradley was a good player. Yeah, so I guess to quit the analogy for a moment, it's the NFL. Weird things are going to happen. Things aren't going to fall the way you think they are. But like when I think about other teams in the league that we view as true contenders, and I guess just real quick, rapid fire, yes or no, Josh, are the Green Bay Packers a true contender?
No.
Will.
No.
Hunter.
No.
I still lean yes, but something's got to give at one point or another. So, like next Wednesday, a week from today, when we're talking after the Eagles game, if they win that game and they show us some things, I think I'll go, yeah. I think they still are, but we'll see what happens a week from now. Now, my point is, when it comes to some of the other contenders in the league, I think you have a better idea of what they are and what they're made of. Right? When you think of, and this is the extreme, when you think of Kansas City, they've had their shortcomings. They lost last week to Buffalo in the regular season. But you know what they're good at, and you know what they're capable of, and you know who they can beat and hang with, and you know that they ultimately have a quarterback that can take over football games. Similarly with Buffalo, they have a quarterback that can take over Buffalo games, despite having some shortcomings that will allow them to get beat by maybe inferior opponents from time to time. But if you put the Chiefs or the Bills in the same stadium as the Carolina Panthers, I don't think you see what happened to Green Bay.
We saw what the Bills did to them.
40-9.
On the road, too.
Yeah. So that's where I get hung up on. Championship level teams don't make these mistakes, especially twice. If it was just Cleveland, I'm feeling a little bit different. But now that it's also happened to Carolina, that's concerning. So I understand why you guys say no to that question right now as it stands.
Yeah. You can make account for an off day, a bad game plan. When it's three of them, when you barely scored against what is on pace to be one of the three worst defenses in the history of tracking them, and you only beat them by 9, you've got more problems than I think we all want to admit. And it's hard to look past the first 2 games. That second game continues to deteriorate in terms of value and what it actually could have meant, because that team in the Commanders is, they're done and they're old and slow, and it's the thing everyone talked about. Year. So
I agree.
You probably
Still good, though.
Yeah, you probably punched above your weight a little bit in that one. You had the convenience of being the first time with all new coordinators. A real test is the Eagles game, and there's a real chance that game gets ugly for the Packers if the same team that showed up against it. The Panthers want to run the ball. They're pretty good at it. The Eagles' offensive line is now healthy and has their starters back on that offensive line, and that's Saquon Barkley back there rushing the ball now. So yeah, that could get, you could lose in a very similar way, but to a better team with more offensive firepower.
I mean, you said it last week too, Josh. Before the Panthers game, they've already been slapped in the face twice. I don't think they're going to get slapped again. So they were already out of their free passes before the Panthers game. So for it to happen, 3 times in 5 weeks or something like that, that's a little less of a stumble and more of a, there's something seriously going on here.
Well, this for Matthew, and thanks, Matthew, for pointing it out later in the chat. I hadn't scrolled back on this yet. But some interesting statistics from the offensive side of things. Weeks 1 and 2, 11% of their passes went behind the line of scrimmage. Weeks 3 through 9, 25% of the passes went behind the line of scrimmage. That's second highest in the league. Intermediate passes, 10 to 19 yards, 30% through weeks 1 and 2, and now only 13%. 3 through 9, 13 or third lowest in the league. And then obviously the
Ben
takeaways are
Solak
bad.
did a whole thing on why aren't the Packers beating teams they should.
Really good read, by the way.
Yeah. And
over at ESPN.com.
I saw some people try and dismiss it, but as somebody who's watched Matt LaFleur for 7 years intently, and with not just I'm enjoying a Packers game, I'm trying to be a little more critical. He 1,000,000% is guilty of the things he gets accused of in that article, being when the Packers play bad teams, they turtle up, they get more conservative, they try and be less of a schemed open team. They just want to take easy stuff, do what they do, get out of town, and get a win. And then when they are underdogs, all of a sudden it's a laser show. The depth the target of throws is way downfield. They're far more aggressive than in weeks past. And that's why, I think I said it on Monday, it wouldn't shock me if all of a sudden Matt LaFleur comes out with a game plan they can't believe they're seeing from the Packers, because the past 6 weeks have been something other than what they see on Monday. Like, that's the type of stuff, which is probably a head coach overthinking and getting too paranoid about putting stuff on film and not just letting his players be players and go out and win football games.